Hi, this is Daniel Gumby Freeland with Sportskeeda MMA, and joining me today is Charles Rosa, who fights Nathaniel Wood at UFC London. That fight on July 23rd. So before this interview started, Charles, I was poking around your social media, saw that you've been training a little bit at the newly minted Kill Cliff FC for this fight. I saw you with Eddie Alvarez. Is that a full-on camp change, or is that just somewhere you're getting a little bit extra work for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I've been started working there a few camps ago, and mostly I was just going in the mornings. But yeah, man, I try to go there pretty much every day of camp. I train over at Kill Cliff. Obviously, it was Sanford before. Have a great relationship with Henry Hoof, the wrestling coach Greg Jones, and a lot of my friends and some of my best friends like Dustin Scrappy Lampros, Evan Elder, and a lot of good guys over there. I'm fortunate enough to be able to get the highest level work. They got some of the best fighters in the planet over there. So to be able to get that work in with them is something that's a necessity, fighting at the level that I'm at. So, happy to be over there, putting in the work in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I go to my other gym, American Combat Gym, with my coach, Charles McCarthy. He's my day one coach, been loyal to him. And my little brother, Lucas, King of Monsters, Rosa trains there. So I get to get like the technical work in there because, sometimes at the big gyms, it's difficult to get the attention. There's only, one Henry Hoof, there's only one Greg Jones, and there's, 40, 50 world-class fighters. So to be able to get that attention from them, it's very difficult. And it's a difficult thing to ask for them. But I usually rely on your teammates to help each other, and it helps a lot there. But to get the personal attention definitely helps a lot. So over
and out of curiosity, is the ramp up and going there more often and such, is that mostly just because now things are a little bit more open, a little bit more easy? Because I know, back when the pandemic was going on, you kind of got, sort of bottlenecked in where you could go for a gym and stuff like that. Is it now just that it's more free and easier, and now you're taking advantage of more of those options?
Yeah, I mean, it's called mixed martial arts. So, for me to be able to get the best training, you got to train with the best guys, and nobody's the best at anything. And everybody knows that, Henry Hoof's one of the best Dutch kickboxing coaches in the world. You got Greg Jones. But like I said, there's only two of them. So, for me to be able to get the jiu-jitsu work in with my coach, Charles McCarthy, my day one coach, world-class black belt under Ricardo Laborio, to get that in, and then be working with my coach, Gregory Choplin, who's a 6-time Muay Thai world champion, to, sharpen my elbows and my knees. And then I got my buddy, Matt Waggy, who, trained over at Alpha Male for 10 years and, amazing wrestling credentials, similar size to my opponent, to be able to kind of work on all the things that, like kind of some of my weaknesses, like the wrestling, the wrist fighting and stuff like that. So, man, I got a complete team around me. And that's the thing about this, even though it's such an individual sport, we get locked in the cage by ourselves. It's sometimes it takes a whole team to bring everything together. So, I have so many people helping me, sponsors, friends, teams, and I'm excited to get back in there July 23rd. Especially in London.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about London, but let me ask you about you mentioning feeling like wrestling was one of your weaknesses, because I feel like the UFC keeps seeming to throw you like a nonstop gauntlet of wrestler types, right? Like, Brown and Jackson and Mitchell and Minner and like dudes who just wrestle all the time. What are your thoughts on the fact that they do keep sending you those guys? And where do you think Nathaniel Wood fits in that, that list?
Well, they know I'm an exciting fighter. So those guys are boring fighters for the most part. So like when you put me in there, it turns a boring fight into an exciting one, because they know I'm going to scramble. They know I'm going to go for submissions. Like most guys would hold positions when they get on top. Like I'm going for submissions, I'm doing things. And it's also a problem with my strategy too. One of my coaches, my longtime coaches, Mike Brown, he used to tell that to me. He's like, man, Charlie, he goes, I really don't, he calls me Charlie. He goes, I don't really know what to tell you, because what to do with you, because I don't want to deter you from your fighting style, because it's so exciting. The UFC loves you. You have all these fight of the night bonus, performance bonuses, but I'd really like to see you win more fights. And it might have to change your strategy to be like more boring. So like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I just love watching you fight, and I love what you do. So, we've worked it. Obviously, he showed me different ways of, holding people and stuff. But like I said, it's not really my style. And I think it really deterred me a lot fighting without the crowd, because when I get out of those positions, like when I fought Bryce Mitchell with no crowd, I get out of the twister. There's no crowd reaction. There's no like, oh, and everybody gets riled up, the adrenaline pumps, and then I get an extra burst of energy. I just hear his coach, okay, cover his hips, get back on top. Like, and it's just not the same. So if you look at any of my fights before the pandemic, they were either all fight of the night bonuses or they were wins. Once the pandemic hit, I started win one, lose one. It was just I'm not saying the fights weren't as entertaining, because like Damon Jackson fight was one of the bloodiest fights in UFC history. I wouldn't say not entertaining. It's just I feel like the energy isn't there. So that's what I get to bring back on to the O2 Arena, one of the biggest arenas in Europe, O2 Arena in Europe and London, fighting back in front of fans. So I'm so excited to get back to doing what I love. And like I said, I feed off of it, whether it's a good energy or bad energy. Anytime I fought out of the country, I fought in Mexico City against Yair Rodríguez, Dennis Seaver in Stockholm, Sweden. I had the crowd cheering my name at the end of the fight. So either way, they started off cheering against me, booing me. By the end of it, they were chanting my name, Rosa. So I expect the same in London.
Well, and I was gonna ask you about that too, being that like you're in hostile territory for the first time you've been in a crowd, and of course you've been in those hometown crowds before, right? Like you've gotten the Boston Strong crowd behind you before. Yep. You enjoy the boos though?
Nah, I mean, nobody enjoys the boos when you're walking out. But like I said, I mean, obviously in the good part, I got the most all-time wins in Boston, my hometown. 3 wins at the Boston TD Garden, above Conor McGregor for most all-time wins in the UFC. So I take a lot of pride in that. So hopefully I get picked back in front of my crowd. So hopefully after this, they get back to Boston at some point. But man, like I also feed off the bad energy, man. Like it gets me like, turned up, and it gets my energy levels up when, in Mexico City, when I fought Yair Rodríguez, a fight I thought I won. I still would like to get that fight back one day. I lost a split decision to him in Mexico City in his hometown. Went to the judges. I mean, I finished the fight on top, pounded him out, but I obviously didn't get the finish. So went to the judges, split decision, loss, devastating loss, because I really feel I won the fight. Like if you go back and watch, it was fight of the night bonus, but it's still, regardless, I'd take the win over the fight of the night any day. It was just, it was a tough loss. But like I said, the crowd was pouring beer on me on the walkout. I had my American flag. I was pretty much covered in my underwear with beer by the time I got in the cage, because they were pouring so much on me, like trying to get out, like trying to duck and weave through the crowd. And man, but nothing fired me up more. Like they were talking about fighting in elevation, but I feel like the like how mad I was for the fight, and like how like the extra energy I got from the booze and stuff like that really gave me the extra energy to push in the fight. And like I said, it's good energy or bad energy, it's still energy. So I use it to my advantage.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you too about Yair, because it was that split decision. It was so razor close. And now at the time we're recording this, it's on Thursday, 2 days before he's about to main event in a fight that some people have said if he wins, he's going to get a title shot.
They did say that. They said it's a title eliminator. So whoever wins this fight fights for the world title. So, I think Yair probably has a slight advantage over Ortega. I'm not sure what the odds are saying, but regardless, I just think it's a good fight for Yair. Keep it on the feet. I think just stylistically, it's a good fight for Yair. He has better jiu-jitsu defense than most people think. I got him on the ground. I got him some tough positions, knee bars, arm bars, triangles, and he was able to fight out of a lot of them. And I think I have some of the highest level jiu-jitsu in our weight division in the UFC. So I'll be interesting if Ortega is able to submit him. But I think a lot of people underrate the submission defense of Yair Rodríguez. So it'll be interesting to see in his fight.
Yeah, that is absolutely an interesting complex riddle there for him. But follow it up. If Yair gets through that one, how do you like his chances being one of the people who've been in there with him against the champ Volk, who is so dominant lately?
Well, if you look at the size advantage and the length, and that's a big thing. It's such a, I think there's nobody in the world, whether you're, that's a fan of the UFC, that wouldn't want to see that type of matchup, like Volk versus Yair. Yair is so dynamic. His striking is so long. Like, I think that's the kryptonite for somebody like Volkanovski, because Volkanovski looks unbeatable right now. Nobody's been able to really touch him, get close to him, but it's all guys that stand in front of him and fight him. You haven't seen like a karate type guy or like a taekwondo type of guy that keeps the distance so Volk can't get his hands. He's a little bit of a shorter fighter. Like I think he's like 5'6". He's strong, obviously, he's strong as an ox. But man, like if you can't get a hold of someone, you can't touch them, then how do you win the fight? So it'd be very interesting. But obviously, Yair has to get through Ortega first. So that's just a fight. I'm excited to watch it for sure. I would like to see Yair become, at least get a title shot, become champion, because I just feel like, I'm like, man, I'm so close there. I think, I have a lot of work to do, obviously, to build back some tough fights, like, coming off a loss on a 2-day notice fight to TJ Brown, even the Damon Jackson fight, I had him split open. Like I thought I could have won that fight, and he's on a 4-fight win streak now. So I don't make any excuses, but sometimes it takes just a little bit of luck and a little bit of things to get going, a little motivation and a little bit of, steam in the right direction. And I think it's going to start July 23rd. I can get this big win over Nathaniel Wood, knock his ass out in front of his home crowd, take his head back to America, and then, hopefully get on a Boston card and start my title run. So that's my goal.
Well, and you kind of jumped the gun on me there, because I was going to ask you to break down a little bit of what this fight looks like, because, you said your wrestling you see as your weakness, but also your jiu-jitsu is the best in the world. You're one of the best there. But it's not like you can't box. It's not like you're not a good boxer either. So do you plan on standing and banging with him, or do you think this is a fight that you ought to take to the floor and make use of that jiu-jitsu?
I mean, of course, it's like it's in a mixed martial art fight, so you play it where it goes. So obviously, you see what punches start landing. If you know what I'm saying, like the range, how hard he punches. Like I noticed that with TJ Brown. Like I said after myself to the fight, I'm like, man, like not to take anything away from the tough kid and all, but like he didn't really hit that hard. Like I feel like I could have just walked through his punches, but I had a little bit too much respect for him, like in the stand up. Like I feel like I could have just bit down and just blasted through him, but I didn't think of it after the fight, obviously 2 days notice, but like it's just things like that. But it's once you get in there, man, the one thing I've learned, I tell my little brother who's an amateur fighter, he's 12-0 undefeated amateur fighter, Lucas Rosa, and I help coach him, and I got to sometimes take my own advice, is sometimes like you got to find the way to win in the fight. I mean, like everybody has a weakness, where it doesn't matter who it is, the champion of the world, whether, it's anybody. You got to just chip away and you got to find what their weakness is. So, you start with the jab, you start with the leg kicks. Oh, maybe they don't know how to check a leg kick. You just keep throwing the leg kick and you break their leg down. Okay, well, now he's checking all the leg kicks. He's blocking the jabs. Well, you go for a takedown. All right, he stuffed the takedown, did a good job. All right, well, maybe you go for a double leg. Oh, he's weak, and then you take him down. So you always just got to find a way. But for me, as far as my strategy, I mean, obviously, I'm a complete mixed martial artist. I've been working a ton of hard wrestling, good, cage wrestling on the open, and also keeping position. So I think like the biggest thing, I've been working with my coach, Matt Waggy, who's also a phenomenal fighter, but he's been focusing more on the coaching side, helping with me is positioning. Like I feel like I lose a lot of good positions because I try to scramble too much. So to be able to hold someone in a position, keep it as where I'm winning the round, and then do the damage from the top would be kind of, I think, the best situation for me.
Absolutely. And you kind of tipped your hand already. You said, land that big knockout and take his head back to America. Is that the way you see this one ending? If I asked you for a prediction, you're going to say that you're coming home with a knockout.
Yeah, no doubt. I got some good tricks up my sleeve, some things I've been working. And I think, with the range that I have on him, it's going to really be tough for him to come in. If he comes in, he's going to eat something big. So, I see myself at him getting a little bit aggressive and coming in too hard, and he's going to walk into a hard right hand or left hand, and he's going to be on the ground. And whether he's able to be tough enough to survive those punches in that barrage, or if he's going to have to get desperate and shoot in, it's going to see how it's going to end. If it's going to be a knockout or submission, but I do feel this fight's ending inside the distance. So it's just how I feel. Like I feel like I'm due, especially with the crowd. Like you said, you watch any of my fights, man, there's all like nail biter moments when there's a crowd that the fight's about to end, or one way or the other. So I'm excited to get back in there in front of a crowd.
Well, we're excited for it as well. Now, before I let you go, I do want to give you a chance to shout out any sponsors. You mentioned a whole bunch of coaches and training partners and whatnot too, but just want to give you the floor, tell people where they can find you and such like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the ones I just newly signed on, I started training over at IHP, Institute for Human Performance, with JC Tantana. So I've been the biggest, fastest, strongest I've ever been in my life. So, I've kind of learned the final piece of the puzzle for myself is using my strength. So I definitely want to give a shout out to him. And, he's really helped me evolve with my strength and kind of put the final pieces as a mental coach together. And also someone I also met over there, a good, really good person who's helping sponsor me and help get my coaches and flights for the fight and hotels rooms, just take a lot of the stress off of the fight, is Matthew Rosenthal. He works for Mindcore, and he has, a corporation. He's been helping me as a fighter so much. So just, it's a newly sponsorship, but it's something that is so helpful for me. And like I said, it keeps my mind and my focus on the fight. So really appreciate these people. And then the last persons that people I want to shout out is the people that help keep my body healthy. So Tony Wilcox with Acupuncture Zen, and my guy Jared Hoffman with Hoffman's Chiropractic. So these are all the people, the team that it takes. And obviously, Sanford, they call it Kill Cliff now, MMA Gym, American Combat Gym. But like I said, this is the team of people and all the people that bring together to help make, really help make this possible. So give a shout out to all them. And man, thanks for the interview. Thanks for the time. Can't wait to shine July 23rd in London.
And we can't wait for it either. Once again, fans, that's Charles Rosa, who fights Nathaniel Wood at UFC London. And like he said, it's on July 23rd. Thanks again, Charles.
Appreciate you.